Hey PC fans, Gordon Young with PC World here. We are still at Corsair talking to experts in every field. This one's something I particularly care about. This is Ann Jankowski, Case PM, BAM Cases. Everybody loves cases. She's going to tell me why ATX has to die. She won't. That's me. Why, it just can't happen? You can't? No? And
so I know you talked to George about this earlier, but it is a bit difficult for Corsair as a company to change the standard for motherboards overall industry-wide. We don't make motherboards ourselves. We would need to work with a lot of different companies and get a lot of different people on board. So while it's not the ideal format, it would be quite difficult.
Hopes crushed. Hopes crushed of moving on from 25-year-old ATX standard. Not going to happen. This right in front of us is the iCUE 465X. 150 bucks.
Yep. Glass
front, glass sides. Comes with 3 RGB fans.
3 LLRGB fans.
Mm-hmm. What's the LLRGB?
It is our high-end RGB fan, so it has 2 light loops, one on the inside and one on the outside, so you can do custom lighting. So you can have different lighting patterns going through the inside and the outside. Makes it a little more interesting from an RGB standpoint.
Okay. And of course you can control it out of the box.
Yes, so when we have iCUE in the name of a case, that means that we have an iCUE controller that ships with the case. So in this case, it's the Lighting Node Core, which can control up to 6 RGB fans out of the box.
First question, because everybody wants to know about their cases now, is the airflow. For some reason, they're all concerned about airflow. I don't know why, but how'd you handle airflow for this case? Because we do have the glass, which people like.
So actually, this is one of our best performing cases. We did a lot of testing on this front panel. We knew we wanted glass, but airflow is becoming more and more of a concern with hotter components. You don't want your components to overheat, obviously. You want them to last longer. So these gaps right here actually provide a lot of airflow to the system. We sent this out to a lot of reviewers and we got great feedback on the airflow. So I think this is the best glass case that we've ever released from a performance standpoint.
Now, of course, some people would say, well, why even use glass then? Why don't we just go to the typical holes in the front we used to have, or a mesh front? Is that not something that's...
So we did just release the 220T RGB, iCUE 220T RGB as well. So that one is an open front with RGB fans. But we do realize that our glass cases are one of our bread and butter product lines. A lot of people love the 460X, the 570X. They want that glass front with the RGB fans showing. And we don't want to take that away from people who've given us feedback that they really love that. So that's why we wanted to really incorporate the airflow with glass.
Okay. Is there what's more popular, glass or mesh front?
So right now we just started coming out with mesh fronts. From our old cases, we did have a lot of mesh fronts that were popular. If you look at the market overall though, I think straight mesh fronts aren't as popular as people think. So that's why we like to do different patterns on the front of our cases, like 220T, instead of just straight mesh. Make it a little more interesting, try to get some younger consumers interested as well.
Okay. For cases, I'm an old timer. I've been doing this a long time. We've gone through beige, we've gone through all black, we went through red and black. Then we went to liquor store RGB. And then now, which is a phrase I'm still stuck in. And then now we are in this phase where this is just elegant. You've got the glass, actual tempered glass, front and side. You've got the RGB. How do you stay ahead of the curve as far as what people are going to want?
I think, from my perspective, Corsair has always been a little bit more elegant than the others when it comes to our RGB implementation.
Oh, you haven't seen my implementation. It does look like that liquor store. So.
We have 570X, which I think was one of the first big RGB cases out on the market, which has a very elegant implementation. So right now we're doing this glass front. We're really looking into more sleek and simple designs moving forward. How can we implement RGB that's not just fans, but also maybe in the front panel, on the side panel, even including it in the case, maybe some underglow. Underglow would be a thing that would be a little more subtle, not as in your face.
Sure.
So we're exploring a bunch of different options right now when it comes to our new products.
You wouldn't be able to say, but I'm going to ask Capellix. Like, I sort of think like there's such great uses in a case.
Maybe you'll see something and maybe you won't. I can't comment on future products.
Okay, can't comment on future products. Standard line I hear from AMD and Intel all the time. But again, sort of like I mean, I know people like to use the fancy term design UI or language or design language.
Yeah.
But for me, I very much feel it's fashion because right now we're just sort of in this elegant RGB glass look, and then we did also go through a brushed aluminum phase for a while. I mean, couldn't it just switch on a dime and we could be into wood and teak and cloth? I mean, how do you predict?
So we like to look at a lot of different things when we're designing a new ID, not just computer cases. So I'm not saying those things couldn't happen, but we do like to take influence from a lot of items that you'd see throughout the home, newer items in your home like electronics or even furniture. But I would say that glass is not the only trend there is. You can see right now that a lot of the most popular cases are very simple and sleek with no RGB. So I would say not just glass. We're not just focusing on that.
Sure.
One of our biggest cases is our 275R, and that's because it looks so simple and clean for an affordable price. I think simple and clean is definitely in right now as well.
So as a case designer, what's the hardest thing to balance?
Cost.
Oh, is that so? That's the as you look at that spreadsheet, it's always cost. That's always.
You want to include everything. You want to make a great building experience. You want to make it modular. You want to include as much RGB as people would want, but there's always a cost limitation. So you really have to prioritize what's most important to the customer. And from a Corsair standpoint, I think that's always number one, quality, and then buildability and cooling compatibility. So you have our coolers. Obviously, we want to make sure that all of our cases can fit all of our coolers. Most of our cases can fit a 360 in front, most of the new cases we've come out with, and 240 on top. So we're going to be focusing on that in the future, obviously, because we want to be able to incorporate all of our products within a system. And then buildability, you can see it with a lot of new cases on the market right now. People are focusing a lot more on cable management, wiring, making it easier for new users to join this DIY space and build computers. So we are always focusing on that as well.
And you've seen the DIY, it's not going away. You're seeing huge interest in it. So.
And the easier we make it for new users to build, the more people join, in my opinion.
So for materials, this one is, I think, probably steel.
Yes. Steel, glass, and a little plastic here to hold the glass out.
You said that the problem is cost. I'm a big fan, maybe just because I'm retro, but I'm a big fan of aluminum cases from the old days. Is that just too hard of a material to deal with these days? Not as strong?
No, we still include aluminum with some of our cases. It just has to be at a certain price point because it is a premium material. So again, you have that cost trade-off. I don't want to give up buildability, cooling compatibility, or quality to add aluminum to the front of a case. So we're going to maintain those three things, and then at higher price points, add those higher end materials like aluminum.
And even if it's, I guess that's one of the things where if you use aluminum, there's no guarantee people are going to be into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, our Obsidian line, although we're not really using series names anymore, our 500D is very popular. It has an aluminum front. The 500D RGB also incorporates aluminum elements. Those both came out last year and they've done very well. So I think people definitely still like aluminum. I think it needs to be pretty subtle. But yeah, we definitely are not moving away from aluminum altogether.
Okay. Are there any other materials that you think could possibly come up? I think we joked this morning about marble. I don't think we'll see any marble cases, but
That might be a bit heavy for shipping purposes. I like aluminum because it's light. But I mean, we've experimented. I know you mentioned this morning as well with carbon fiber and other materials. I think we're moving more away from plastic and towards steel if we can, like with our 220T case that we just came out with in July that has a full steel front that snaps in. So there's only a small amount of plastic on the case. I think that gives the user a more premium feel with our case. So things like that, trying to swap out some materials that we have typically used for a bit higher end.
okay. Has Corsair ever done any research into DIY builds and how long they keep cases? Because my impression is most people will keep a case to the end of time essentially, and that's a tough for you because that customer is going to buy it now and they don't buy another one for 8 years. Is that?
I think it's a little bit shorter than that. Typically, when somebody wants to buy a new graphics card or do a new build with motherboards, that's typically when they may look for a case. I don't think many people will just buy a new case and then take all their old parts and put it in a new case. So we do see uptick in sales when there's a new graphics card that comes out, when there's a new CPU that comes out. Right now with the new AMD CPUs, we've been seeing a lot of good.
Okay. Is it driven by upgraders? Would they also go like, oh my gosh, my case looks so dated? Like, you've got this beige,
I mean,
ugly RGB
cases
thing.
are a lot about looks. I mean, we do focus on quality, performance, and buildability, but we also are very focused on looks. We do a lot of research on what our cases should look like, what is the market asking for, what do our consumers want, and I really do think that a lot of people are buying their cases at least 50% on looks.
For case features, I have to ask this because I'm an audio guy. I run sound cards. One of the things I always tell everybody is don't run that front panel audio connector because you snake it down from the front all the way down to your sound card or to your onboard motherboard. Is there any way to ever get clean audio out of that front panel connector? Is that something like, I know it's tough because you can't make that a shielded $25 cable in the box, but.
So typically our ground connection in our newer I/O panels, actually the audio is a separate ground than the USB, and
Okay.
the USB is where you'd be hearing that feedback. So I don't think you should be experiencing that with our newer cases. I talked to my boss about that question specifically because I wasn't sure, but he said they implemented that about 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's one of those things I think you have old information, you never change it. So I'll have to try it out then because usually when I try it in other cases, it just sounds pretty bad.
So you'll be getting the feedback from like your mouse or something?
mouse,
Yeah.
USB data, and
Yeah,
USB is common, right?
We
So-
have fixed that problem since, like you said, I think 4 years ago.
Oh.
So
I'll have to try it then. I'm going to ask you, this is the tough one. We don't talk politics here, but any forecasts as to whether case prices are going to go up or down based on trade wars?
So specifically with the U.S., our worldwide pricing should remain pretty consistent. But with the U.S., I cannot really predict what our president will put a tariff on. And if we do have significant tariffs, our prices will go up.
We will continue the roller coaster of international politics and economics. What else do I want to ask? Oh, you know what I would love to know? What's the most popular case size? Like, are we moving away from right here? This is considered a mid-tower by Corsair standards?
So I would say our most popular case size is mid-tower. Not this case specifically because it's over $100. I know you talked about that this morning, but the bulk of volume comes from below $100. And this size is about the size of a 275R. That is our most popular case. So ATX, a little bit of a smaller mid-tower would be our most popular size.
I see no drive bays on this case.
Actually, they're in the back.
Well, I mean, optical
ODD.
drive bays.
Okay.
Is that dead? Are they dead everywhere, or?
I'm not going to say they're dead because we may or may not have a new product with one coming out soon. But our 100R is one of our most popular cases. It's an entry-level case, similar look to a 275R, but it has an ODD, and I think that is one of the reasons it's so popular, because it's at a low price point and offers an optical drive. I don't think a lot of our competitors offer that. So from a cheaper workstation standpoint, I think we're one of the only players out there. So with that case, it's kind of its own animal. Overall, I'd say ODDs, we don't typically include them anymore. We don't really see a lot of people asking for them. The only time we would include it would be on maybe a full tower, maybe.
Just to eat up, to have an option, but it does feel like it's on its last legs only. But interestingly, on laptops, most budget laptops have optical drives.
Yeah.
So it's funny that also on budget cases, they also want optical drives. So last question. If Andy called you up and said, I want you, Ann, we're going to go, this is Ford versus Ferrari. I want you to build the most insane case. We are going to conquer everyone. What would you build? No prices, no objects. Manhattan Project here. Go to the moon.
Part of me wants to do mini ITX because we haven't, but I'm going to say a Halo 1000D type product, but I would want to make a lot of improvements. Make it very modular. Use high-end materials, maybe try some carbon fiber because that's always been a cost constraint for us. Definitely include 2 systems so that people could stream with it. Maybe something a little bit smaller than 1000D just to see if I could do it and fit the 2 systems in there. I think that'd be a fun challenge.
3 systems.
Okay,
If
3
2 systems is good, then 3 is better. Just like razor blades. Pretty soon you'll have 5 systems. That could be it. That could be the secret. That could be the secret of the next. Yeah, you could tell how far Corsair would go if I built cases here, so not very far. Anyway, thank you for coming, and keep coming back. We have a lot of Corsair content on the channel. Also, check out PCWorld.com. Peace out.